Hey there, y'all. I'm Juliette Miranda. Welcome to Bourbon Soak Live, where for the next, I don't know, 30-ish, 40, who knows how many minutes we're going to be hanging out and talking and sharing stories. And, well, I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to be drinking bourbon. Cheers, y'all. You all will have to excuse me if I sound as though I have been gargling with razor blades. I know I have some crazy excuse every week about why I sound so terrible. It is because I've spent the past 4 days in the desert, and it's kind of taking a toll on me a little bit. But no matter, I'll get through it. And I want to introduce y'all to the man behind the scenes. That would be Mr. David, the producer. Hey, handsome man, how's it going?
What's up, all?
He is handling the chat back there, and hopefully y'all will get a chance to hang out with him a little bit. Let's see who we've got hanging out in the chat right now. I see Nick Jones. Hello. Viewed this. It is great to see you. Always Container Man. It's lovely to see you. Melissa, hello. It's awesome that y'all are here hanging out. I'm so excited. Whew. Wow.
You sound like you can barely breathe.
Yeah, these past 4 days we've been in Las Vegas, and I don't even know if I remember all of them. What about you, producer?
I just remember going there to visit my money.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of days, but before we get to all the Vegas chatter, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 4th of July because y'all, it's coming up on Thursday, and I love the 4th of July. Is this something that you guys are all into, the whole firework thing?
Everyone but Nick. He's from Wales.
I know, Nick. I'm sorry to leave you out of the discussion here. I promise you, we're not going to be getting crazy patriotic. Really, what I wanted to do was talk about blowing things up in a good way, mind you, in a very good, fun way. Did I see Gemma saying hello?
Gemma is in the house.
Oh,
yes.
Gemma's here. Hey, it's great to see you here. Oh. And by the way, today I am drinking Larceny Bourbon. I drink this all the time. It is easily my go-to, as you can tell by the gigantic bottle sitting here on the table.
By every day, she means every day that ends with Y.
Yes, that is typically what every day means. Thank you.
I feel like Ed McMahon. This is really
I know, we got my producer sitting back there. He's on this leather chair, and he's kind of surrounded by gear and equipment and everything. It's quite the Wizard of the Oz setup that we've got going on.
Don't look behind the curtain.
Yeah, don't look behind the curtain. Fortunately, here I am with all these bright lights on me. Hopefully, I'm not going to melt today.
Oh, Container Man is working, which means he's driving.
Oh, well, you keep both hands on the wheel there, mister. So we were talking about things that go boom, and I cannot think about the 4th of July and fireworks without talking about my dad. Because, y'all, he's truly one of the coolest guys. He really is. He is a physicist. And as a physicist, his expertise has been in, God, I don't even know how to describe it. It's in electronics and blowing things up and fuzzy logic and Tesla coils. And as part of all of this, my dad managed to get back in the 70s a license to carry and detonate explosives.
He's like Doc from Back to the Future.
Yeah, my dad is completely Doc. Or if you've ever seen Big Bang Theory, he's also a little bit like Sheldon, only far more outgoing than that.
Your dad's a total nerd, but he's cool.
He is the coolest nerd you will ever meet. And when I was a kid, he used to go out and get these professional grade fireworks. I mean, we're talking the big stuff, the big bombs, the aerial bombs, the shells, the cakes and everything. These were professional grade fireworks. And at all times, he had a stash of these in the basement. That led to some interesting summer evenings, I gotta tell you. Because anything could make my dad run down to the basement to grab something, including a wasp hive. Our neighbors had this gigantic wasp hive in their front bush. I mean, this thing had to have been like this big, this wide, and it was full of these aggressive angry wasps that were just attacking them every time they went out of their front door. So the lady, our neighbor, she goes to my dad, hey, Doc, that was my dad's name, Doc. Is there anything you can do about this? Because I don't want to call a professional. I don't want to spend any money. I just want this thing gone. And my dad, well, the man with 1.21 gigawatts of plutonium in the basement, he says, I gotcha. He disappears down in the basement for like, I don't know, 30 minutes.
You have to talk about his attire first.
Oh, I will, because there is this magical moment. We're all gathered out onto the sidewalk. It kind of turned into this little like block party. The neighbors were there, all the kids were hanging out. Somebody brought a cooler full of beers because we all know that my dad is going to put on a show, right? So the garage door opens, and standing there in the center is my dad wearing a camouflage jumpsuit and a crash helmet. In one hand, he has a homemade stick of dynamite, which he has constructed out of the powders from various shells that he had sitting around in the basement. And on the other hand, he's got a flare. My dad, he was ready for action. So we're all just watching as he kind of meanders over towards the wasp hive, and he turns around and he goes, okay, guys, you gotta stand back. Now, we didn't really know what to expect, so we all just kind of say, it'll be fine where we are. And he's like, no, really, stand back. So we move back a couple of inches, and he puts down on his crash helmet. He grabs this stick of dynamite that he's made, and then he walks up to the hive, and he rams that thing right in there, and he's just being swarmed by all these wasps and everything. They're just vicious. And he lights the flare, and then he lights the dynamite, and my dad goes off tearing down to the other end of the block. I mean, he runs past us. He runs past the houses. He is down at the far end while we're all standing there, right by the bush. And he's yelling, get out of the way, get out of the way. So just as we start to back up, that thing exploded. It didn't just take out the wasp hive. It took out the entire tree that it was in, and the impact blew out the windows and the glass door of my neighbor's house, and I think a little bit of the pavement too.
That's totally your dad.
It is so my dad. I mean, we're talking car alarms from blocks down the road are going off and everything. It was, and just like carcasses of wasps raining down on us.
And wearing camouflage like Carl from, Groundhog's Day.
Yes, exactly. It was spectacular. I have never seen anything blow up quite like that in my entire life. So we all kind of come back up and assess the damage, and our neighbor's looking around. She's not sure whether she should thank my dad or hand him a bill, and she's just like, all right, I guess that solves the problem. And my dad says, no, you owe me a case of beer.
That is totally your dad. Hey, by the way, we have the Shape in the house.
Shape, sweet. I'm so glad you are here, because we are talking about blowing stuff up, and my dad has just blown up a gigantic wasp hive in my neighbor's yard.
And we do have to say that, after we mentioned the Shape last week, that a couple of paranormal channels that we knew.
Oh, that's right. We got a little bit of a nudge. Yeah.
A little bit of a razzing.
But... look, I appreciate what everybody does. I really do. But there are certain things, certain tropes in paranormal investigation that are just so cliched and so nonsensical. And I love the way Shape calls them out. I do. It cracks me up.
Yep. We got Mudcon in the house.
Oh, well, hello, Mudcon. How's it going? Gemma, I see fireworks are hell for you. I understand that. They certainly aren't for everybody, and I know they're certainly not for a lot of pets. We were always, and I want to stress this very clearly, now this was the 80s, so it was a different time. My dad was always entirely professional with what he did, and there were very clear rules in our house about what I could and could not touch as far as his stash goes, which was kept locked up in the basement, far out of my reach. There was no getting at it. There were no accidents, because my dad, above all else, was a true professional. I mean, he really took pride in what he did, even if it meant, blowing the hell out of a tree in our neighbor's yard. But that was part of my dad's charm. He was just so cool about this stuff. Although, even with his most professional calculations, he did occasionally make an error in judgment on the fireworks. This one time we were all at this lake house that we had, and my entire family is there. We're talking aunts and cousins and grandparents and friends and neighbors and all this, and we're all gathered kind of on the lake shore where my dad would do his big 4th of July display for all of us. And one year he had something that he called a star bomb. And it's not entirely clear where it came from. It might have come from China. It might have come from somebody's back room. Maybe my dad built it. I don't know. But
I'm guessing China.
I think it's a combination of all of the above, quite honestly. But my dad put it in the mortar, and to this day, it's not entirely clear what happened, because you ask my dad, he'll tell you one thing, and you ask the family, and we'll tell you something else entirely. But that thing didn't launch up into the air. It launched backwards and directly over our heads and into the front lawn where we were all kind of gathered. And it just blew up, and we're talking just chasing us down the lawn with sparks of red and green and blue. It was chaotic, to say the least.
Hey, what happened when he blew up that island?
That was also another error in calculations.
Error?
Well, actually, I personally believe it was a squirrel. Not the squirrel that...
Squirrel?
Exactly. Not the squirrel that, set the fireworks off, but my dad has had kind of this war with squirrels, I guess you could say, and every single year they hang out in this tree near our house and they just chuck walnuts at my dad's head. And I think that's partly because one year he accidentally sucked one up into a snowblower, which was just chaos and gore. I mean, imagine a snowy front lawn just covered in squirrel guts. It was spectacular. But ever since that happened, my dad has had this weird things with squirrels. They're really aggressive around him. And that particular 4th of July, he was setting off the fireworks, and I think there was a squirrel that either leapt out of a tree or chased around him somewhere. And the word is that he kicked one of the mortars and sent it into this island that was kind of in the middle of the lake. And it had been really dry that year, so a bunch of the brush caught fire, and we all had to paddle out to it in boats and, splash water onto it because, there were no fire departments that were kind of going to come and fix it.
I thought Fire Island was in New York, not in Chicago.
I see MudCon has done that and blew up your neighbor's bird bath. Ooh, I would love to hear more about that.
Well, that's a story you got to tell.
That sounds like a good time.
Hey, do you want to give some of these away?
Oh, sure.
Here, take that.
So, I don't know how many of y'all are in the chat right now, but if you would like, I don't know, what do you think, 2 coasters, producer?
4 per
4.
person, yeah. And you pick how many.
But if you want to get a couple of our special Bourbon Soaked Stories coasters, they go great with everything, Coca-Cola, water, bourbon, let us know.
Heavy on the bourbon.
Well, for me, the bourbon, but whatever y'all drink, believe me, this will cover you. Let us know in the chat, and we'll go ahead and send them out. You want that?
Give me my
Oh, he needs it
coaster
for his
back.
drink. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were actually
What are you, new?
putting that to logical use.
It wasn't a prop, for God's sake.
No, just leave us a comment, and we'll reach out to you, and we'll get your details, and we will go ahead and send you out a
How many do you want to give
couple.
away? How many sets?
What do you say, 5 sets?
5 sets, and the most creative comment in the video after this is over.
Yes.
The most creative.
Yeah,
very
have a
subjective,
little fun
but-
with that.
yeah.
Leave me something funky, not just high. I want to hear something,
And you
cool.
know what? The absolute best one will also
Flask.
throw in a
Flask.
Hey, hold on a second. I got. Oh, you know what else we have? Oh, jeez.
We have a whole bag of tricks back here.
Oh my God!
What is
like,
this?
This is like Price is Right. Hold on a second.
And you get this, and you, oh, look what
Oh
you
yeah,
found.
here.
And you can get a bonus comic book. I know this seems a little incongruent. Let me explain. If you see behind me, it's me, actually, as a comic book character. We heard from Snug Comics, who does all sorts of great comic books, and they were doing a re-envisioning of the Kindred movie and asked me if I wanted to be Sheriff Melinda Clare in this series. It's actually pretty wild to see myself as a comic book character. Something I'd never expected would
I
happen.
live with you. You're a comic book character every day.
Okay, I'm gonna fling this thing at your head. I will put an eye out. So he reached out, we worked together on it, and it's cool. So we will throw this in too if you ask nicely and give us a very creative comment.
So the contest is, if I understand it right.
Yes, please
the most
reiterate.
Creative
Comment.
of the comments on the video.
Yes, on the video, not in the chat,
Not in
on
the
the
chat,
video.
On the video itself. We'll get 4 coasters. 5 people will pick out.
Yes.
But the top person, will give them the Kindred Homecomings
comic book.
And also a flask.
A flask.
How about that?
Do I have?
We have way too much swag.
I don't have any flasks out.
I have one here. Here, hold on a second.
Yeah, let me pull one of these things out for y'all because they're very fun. Whenever I go to the drive-in, whenever I go to the drive-in or anywhere that doesn't have booze, I have one of these in my pocket. And I have to admit, this kind of goes against something that I believe in. Now, you know that I'm like totally shilling myself right now, and I totally appreciate that. I am. One thing that I hate is seeing somebody, like a band, wearing their own t-shirt. In fact, we called out Nickelback for this very thing.
Chad, the lead singer. I met in Kansas City, and I saw him wearing his own band t-shirt. Boo.
I just think that's ridiculous. If you were walking around and you're wearing your own t-shirt, half the time nobody even knows what it is anyway. To me, it's just a little bit of overkill. And meanwhile, here's my flask.
Show it closer so it's
right.
hard to see.
Yes. Yeah, right. So here's some
There
more
you go.
self-promotion.
There you go.
All right. You take that.
Perfect. And we'll ship that out.
Yeah, no, we will be happy to send y'all a little bit of fun stuff to get your summer drinking in gear.
We have to get other kind of swag that's kind of cool for summer. Like koozies.
Well, what does that mean?
I don't know, like koozies.
Koozies, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Koozies make me happy. Because I just like it when my glasses sweat.
You're really needy.
I am needy. I'm really looking forward to this coming weekend. We got a lot of stuff going on. Of course, the 4th of July. We are also heading out to Nashville this weekend, which is going to be a blast.
Yes. We're not leaving on the 4th. We're going to blow up a whole bunch of shit here. And then on Friday, we leave for Nashville.
Yes, we do. And I always try to be careful when I blow shit up myself. Although I do know a certain producer.
You're a sparkler girl. You don't blow shit up.
Because it's been ingrained in me so just heavily that you don't mess around with this stuff unless you have the proper setting for it. Last summer, we were in Michigan for the 4th of July, and we were hanging out with some friends of ours on the beach, and we were able to collect a whole bunch of fireworks and everything, and it was just a blast lighting them off, although there is a certain kind of firework, not firework, but it's an illuminated thing that I just think is the most terrifying and probably the most dangerous thing out there, even more dangerous than an M80, because you know when that's going to blow up. It's these lanterns. Have you seen them, like the luminary lanterns? You light the corners of them and then the heat expands them and then they take off floating in the air. These things cause more damage in the suburbs than you could believe. They get caught in power lines. They set trees on fire. They are so dangerous because you never know where they're going to go or if they're even going to get up in the air at all. And I know a certain producer.
Don't tell it.
Oh, I'm telling it. I'm telling it.
This could be a really long night if you're going to tell this, right?
Well, we already have video of it.
Do we?
Yeah, and it's on the YouTube channel. Yeah.
I forgot about that. Shit, that's right.
Yeah, we were in Michigan, and our friends love these lantern things. I avoid them like crazy, but they've got one lit, and they can't get it to quite take flight. So they're, kind of popping it up in the air, going, come on, up with you. And it goes, kind of floating off over the lake, and then it starts to sink. And somebody, by the name of David, the producer,
somebody who had a lot of absinthe
That's right, we were drinking
and
absinthe.
nothing to lose.
He goes tearing off after it and he says, "I'll get it." And he runs into the lake, not accounting for the fact that there is a very sharp drop off within a couple of feet of the shore, reaches up, just misses the lantern, and then plunges into the lake.
I had bad depth perception that day.
That was not depth perception, my love.
It was alcohol perception.
Yeah, that was definitely a boozy perception if there ever was one. But he emerged out of that lake like the Swamp Thing.
It was not good. Or like we like to call, ungood.
Indeed, it was ungood. Oh, I see Viewed. This is leaving us. Well, it's been lovely having you.
Hey, Viewed. That's...
I see Bill 56
You know, you
Belair.
can call him Anthony, by the way. He goes by both.
Not everybody knows that.
Well, he's made it known. He's made it known.
Not everybody knows that.
Hey, and there's Redneck
I see
Connection.
Redneck. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And there's Bill 56.
Hmm.
There's a Creator Spotlight show.
Oh, hey, Creator Spotlight. It's great to see you.
Yep, Melissa. I mean, we got a whole bunch of
The
cool people.
gang is all here, and we are talking fireworks and 4th of July and blowing things up. And this is a little bit of a
Dog sleeping with cats.
mass hysteria. Mm. It's a little bit of a reach, but talk about blowing things up. We were in Vegas this weekend.
Oh, we blew shit up there. My wallet.
We blew up Vegas hardcore. We were with some friends, and it was just a cool kind of hangout. We were hanging out with some podcast friends that we know who live out there. Chris from Faces and Aces, and Steve and Cheryl from Drift and Ramble, which are 2 really cool podcasts. And we were headed towards downtown. Is that
Yeah,
right?
It's right by Fremont Street. It's by it, but not like in that corridor.
Right. Well, so the drive from the center of the Strip to the downtown area is really kind of slow going, especially on a weekend night. So we're in our, I think it was an Uber service. And
No, it's just it's a regular cab.
oh, I wasn't talking about that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
talking,
Okay.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
This is the turning the car ride into kind of a game of, I don't know, bartering perhaps?
Oh, that part, yes.
That part.
Yeah, that was an Uber, yeah.
That was an Uber. So we're in the ride and, things are kind of hitting a lull. So to keep things interesting, we decide to roll down the window and start propositioning people in the cars next to us. At first it was a little dicey. Somebody leaned out of the car window and said, "Hey, how much for your children?" Which almost got us shot.
They were actually kind of nice.
Were they?
Yeah, they
Because
were.
somebody got really annoyed.
Well, the wife did.
Yeah. She was like,
But the
"Roll up
guy
your window."
laughed his ass off. He thought it was funny. Well, he got the Blues Brothers reference.
That's right.
So
Right.
he
It
got
was a Blues Brothers nod. But we decided to keep it rolling, and we started asking random people random questions. So, I lean out the window and I go, "Hey, do you know where the nearest Pilates studio is?" And, another person said, "Hey, do you have any Cheetos?" And then Chris, who is in the way back, he decides he wants to challenge my guy.
Made it a bet.
He made it a bet. He says, "I have a pen. It's just a regular, everyday Bic pen. I want you to trade this for something better."
For something more expensive than this pen.
Yes, exactly. So it could have been anything.
Right.
So we have our Uber driver who's now in on the game, right? This is clearly the best drive he's ever had. He's laughing.
that day,
He's
right?
laughing his ass off. And we're, my guy's got the window rolled down and he's yelling out to cars, "Hey, roll down your window." And everybody's kind of like speeding through red lights to get past us because they don't know what we're up to. And so finally we get to that one car, the one car who's feeling a little cautious, a little, maybe interested but hesitant. And he kind of cracks his window down that far, peeks his eye up over it. And my guy says, "I have a pen." And this was intriguing to him, so he rolled down the window further, and my guy explained the bet. He's like, "I've got a pen. I need something better than it. I'll trade you, quick." And the guy's chick starts digging through the car, and she goes, "I have another pen." And they do a real quick exchange through the window. It's like Footloose. Like half of my guy is hanging out the window, half of the driver is hanging out the other window. And they swap pens in the middle of Las Vegas Boulevard. like a couple of
Well,
maniacs.
actually, the way that it went was that I said to the woman who was in the passenger seat, which, obviously her either boyfriend or guy or whoever she was with.
Right.
I said, I have a pen. I am looking for a much better pen.
Mm. I forgot that's what you said. Oh my God, that's right.
And she gave me a kick-ass pen.
Yeah, it was a
that
cool
lit up.
pen. It was
Yeah.
a fancy
It
pen.
was a very fancy pen, and I won the bet. And then Chris had to give me a reach around.
I didn't hear that part.
That's not a real thing.
I wasn't there for that.
That's not a real thing.
So, yeah, that's just part of the fun we had in Vegas. I'm going to be telling a couple more stories about Las Vegas on the new episode of my podcast, The Unwritable Rant, which we'll post on Sunday. Not that y'all care, because we're all hanging out right now. Redneck says he is stuck at work and he needs booze.
Well, Redneck always needs booze.
What kind of booze do you want, Redneck?
He'll take anything that has what we call alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yes.
You know what we used to do when I was too young to drink, but still drinking?
Bathtub gin?
Kind of. I was always dating somebody considerably older than I was. And I realized today this sounds incredibly sketchy, but I was, 17 and 18, and I was dating guys in their 20s. And I'd, go to their backyard barbecues for the 4th of July. And this one guy that I was dating, I don't know what to call him. We'll call him long hair because he was a musician. And he had this gorgeous head of long brown hair. Anyway, he had this cooler that was full of Kool-Aid and Everclear. Lemon Kool-Aid and Everclear. And we called it guac.
Yuck.
Yeah. We called it guac. And oh my God, I can't believe I haven't thought about this in years. So he had these two friends. They were twins. And they would get just rip-roaring drunk on this stuff. And both of them were gymnasts. So they would start doing gymnastic routines.
Whoa. Slow. You got to back this story up.
Okay, what do you
Come
want to
on.
know? What do you want to know?
Gymnasts?
They were gymnasts, yes. They were semi-professional gymnasts from college, and they just maintained their skills after school.
This sounds really weird.
Why does it sound weird? Why can't twins be gymnasts? They're male, by the way. They're not female.
Well, I thought that, but I don't know. It just seems odd.
I know. They were these really like skinny, lithe guys, and one of them had a pet rat named Nietzsche. And they would get drunk on guac, and they would do cartwheels and backflips, and they'd be all over the yard just doing these crazy gymnastic routines. And we were all afraid that they were going to, break their necks. Until one day, the one guy, the longer hair of the two of them, he did some sort of like backflip combo thing right into the pool, and then just laid himself out, cracked his head on the side of the fence. And thankfully he was drunk, so he didn't do himself any harm, but that kind of ended the gymnastics routines for a while.
I'd say so. That's weird.
Redneck just shared the stream out. That is awesome.
And that would be awesome if anyone that's
yeah.
here that wants to share the stream. That'd be very cool.
That would be
Matter of fact,
delightful.
I have there we go.
Do we have a link or something?
Yep. Have a little thing at the bottom here that if you want to share, if you want to like the stream, if you want to subscribe, if you want to reach around to the producer, totally cool.
Oh,
All's
sure.
good.
He loves that kind of thing.
Oh my God, that's my whole weekend.
Just make sure your hands don't have, chafing or anything.
Mine or theirs?
Theirs.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, well, nobody likes dry hands.
Moisturize, people. Moisturize.
I saw the weirdest thing at the casino in Vegas. I didn't know this was a thing, but they have these professional ladies walking around offering massages to people at tables. And this chick was either legit or not, but she stuck her hand down the back of some guy's shirt, and I'm thinking,
she was like digging for gold.
Yeah, she was like
way down
she
in
was
there.
in there.
Yeah.
And she's not wearing gloves. She's just touching some strange dude's hairy back in the middle of a casino while he's playing poker. I don't know. Does this seem odd to anybody?
Didn't seem odd to me. I was thinking, okay,
You were like, how do
how
I
do I
get
make
in on
this a
this
three?
action?
Yeah, how do I
Yes.
make this a big three?
Uh-huh. Right. That's not where we're gonna go with this. mm, I'm running low on bourbon here.
Oh, well, it's right next to you. If
What
you
I
haven't
would
looked,
what I would love is an ice cube.
I'll get you an ice cube.
Oh,
All right.
thank you.
Yep.
It's super hot and it's crazy humid, and I'm sure my hair is doing wacky things, but that's for you, handsome. Yeah, so in Vegas, we had a blast. We went to Hell's Kitchen, and we went to Rose Rabbit Lie, which is kind of like a speakeasy supper club in the Cosmopolitan Hotel. And there is the most amazing performer there. The way it works is you do a dinner service, and they have entertainment that comes around while you eat, and they perform and they sing. And this one guy, this one singer is just so good. He's got this total 70s look. We're talking the sideburns.
I almost screwed him.
Yeah, I mean, this is one seriously attractive dude who just has the most soulful voice on the planet. Just a cool performer all around, just working the room. It was so much fun.
You want to talk about your Nashville?
Do I want to talk about Nashville?
Nashville and what you got coming up?
Yeah, I do actually, because I got something a little special coming up that I can't wait to do. We were in contact with the people from Heaven's Hill Distillery, who, by the way, make that larceny bourbon that I'm drinking. And they invited us out to join them at the Evan Williams Experience, which is in Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to do a whole tour, we're going to do a private tasting, and of course, we're going to be shooting it all and showing it here on the channel. So if there's anything that you guys want to know about Evan Williams or just bourbon in general, let me know. Leave a comment.
Put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments, and I will be sure to ask Evan Williams directly, which is going to be pretty amazing. I mean, there's so much that I want to talk to them about, you know? Just being in that environment and seeing the way that they make bourbon is fascinating.
I love this whole experience thing, but all I care about is the free booze.
The free booze is going to be pretty amazing.
No, Evan Williams is great. So
Yeah.
It was very cool for them to offer you to come out there.
Well, I like going to distilleries because you have no idea the amount of work that goes into making bourbon. It is truly impressive, just the artistry of it and the science that goes behind it. I see Melissa says it sounds kind of like House of Cards in Nashville.
It kind of will be.
Yeah, I have a feeling it may be. We were at a distillery out here in DeKalb, Illinois called Whiskey Acres, and they are a seed to spirit distillery.
Oh, you have a video out on that.
I do a video of it. Well, hello, RJ. How's it going? It's great to see you in here. So right now we're talking bourbon, but before that we were talking about fireworks and things that go bang and boom. And if you have anything that you're up to for 4th of July, I'd love to hear about it. We're going to be drinking bourbon on the 4th, but then we're headed to Nashville after that.
And you should check in with people, see what they're doing for the 4th. What's everyone doing with the 4th?
Yeah, what are you guys up
the 4th
to?
is one of the funnest 4-day weekends this weekend, since it falls on a Thursday.
Yeah, it is pretty convenient.
Most people are just checking out on Friday. They're saying, yeah, I don't think I'll be working on Friday and the weekend. So
Yeah.
what do they got going on?
You know, I was saying earlier how my dad had this whole stash of fireworks in the basement that I was not allowed to touch. I touched them. I did.
You have a tendency to do that.
I got my greedy little hands on a couple of, they weren't quite cherry bombs. They were a little bit bigger than that. And I might have gone to the track at my high school and blown up a serious chunk of it. And it was brand new too. It was brand new gravel, or not gravel, but like, I don't know what kind of track it was, but it was brand new. And I hated that thing because I have asthma. I don't like to run. I do it now more as part of just a conditioning thing to keep myself breathing properly and healthy, but I hate it. I truly despise working out in all forms, with the exception of yoga. So that was my rationale in blowing this thing up because, man, I hated it. And if I could, get it out of the way even for a couple of days. It'd be worth the effort. And I never got caught either.
Oh, that's surprising.
And I miss the 80s. You could legitimately blow things up and, not get put on a watch list.
I've blown up a lot of relationships in the 80s.
Melissa will be drinking in bourbon in Nashville, but avoiding the downtown crowds. Yes. Yes, that's why we're not going to be in Nashville on the 4th, because it's going to be just a chaotic storm of booze and nonsense.
All right, so talk about the contest one more time, because you mentioned it earlier, but...
I did. Not everybody heard about it. So we have a whole boatload of swag that we're going to be giving away. We have coasters, and if you will, in the video section, leave me a comment. Something creative. Let me know what you're doing for the 4th. Leave me a funny comment. Just say something cool other than, hey, here I am. And I will, for the best 5 responses, send y'all a couple of coasters. And for the most funny or witty or amusing or just plain awesome comment, I will also add in a flask, which we have rolling around in the back somewhere.
Hold on, I have these things out here. Hold on. Oh, jeez, it's so hard to get out of the container.
You're supposed to be prepared.
I know. I'm a producer. I'm not a magician.
Ta-da! Here's my best Vanna White. And also a copy of the comic book, Kindred Homecomings, which I am a character in, as you can see right there. So we got a whole bourbon-soaked prize package for y'all.
That's right. And I do have to tell Redneck, I am not going to drug him, but I will reach around. I'm not above
What
that.
is going on with you and Redneck?
Well, I love Redneck.
We all love Redneck, but it sounds like you might love him in some inappropriate kinds of ways.
He tried to retract his message, not fast enough.
We're on to you, buddy.
I have chloroform and a couple of rags in my, back of my trunk.
Did y'all know I know how to make chloroform?
You actually do.
I have a recipe for it.
I know.
Just a couple of household chemicals and
that hardly scares
appropriate
me.
Proportions.
Right.
Every Christmas, I hang the recipe up on the refrigerator.
It's our thing.
It's like y'all are talking about with the crowds. I don't care for people. And, like in Vegas, we're walking around, and it seems to me that people are just more rude today than they have ever been. There's no courtesy anymore. And I don't understand why that is.
Well, talk about tipping. That was weird.
Yes. We are huge proponents of tipping and tipping well.
Well, I mean, tipping appropriate.
Tipping, yes, for good service. I'm not saying
good
we just mindlessly hand out money just because somebody brought us a plate of French fries.
Right.
No, for good service and quality service, we tip really well. But nobody in Vegas was tipping anybody. The bartenders were not getting tips. The doormen weren't getting tips. It was actually a little depressing because...
We watched at least 5 or 6 cabs.
Yeah.
The guys that let you in, just hold the door open and you give them $1 or $2 or whatever is you feel is appropriate. And no one gave the guy any money, and we're like, that's kind of weird.
It was
And then
weird.
we saw it at restaurants.
It was everywhere.
And then we saw it at bars.
Yeah.
And then we saw it, at the pool,
like
everywhere.
Even our lobby bar, we were staying at the Bellagio, and these bartenders are handcrafting these cocktails. They're making thorough cocktails here. They're not just mixing, Coke and whiskey. They're crafting a drink, and they're doing it right and well. And people are leaving the change on the counter, which, if you're getting that kind of service, I just think, you should promote a job well done.
You know what? I think it's a millennial thing. Maybe. I don't know. But I will tell you that Story Dory says, note to self, don't piss Juliette and Miranda off.
No, it gets ugly when I am not happy. I will go out of my way. I said this in a podcast. I'm like a Komodo dragon. I will hunt you down to the edges of the earth and eat your bleeding carcass.
So, everyone, just to wrap this up, we're going to Well, let's see. You want to do? Oh,
Yes.
one
So,
last
I
thing.
know I have two things to tell you. Coming up
Yes.
will be the video for Las Vegas that will be coming out next weekend. Actually, coming out on Friday, we were thinking, right? Maybe.
Well, let's see. 4th of July is on Thursday. I can edit on Wednesday. You're killing me with all this
I
work.
know. My poor producer is sitting over there in a corner. He's shaking back and forth, and he's weak and twitching because I put him to work. Um, Hopefully this week we will have the Las Vegas video, and then we will have two videos for Nashville about our crazy misadventures there and the Evan Williams experience. And I wanted to let you know that tomorrow night I'm going to be joining the PETM Racing guys live on YouTube at 8 p.m. Central Time. These are awesome guys. They talk about NASCAR, they talk about stock cars, all sorts of racing. They're going to be taking a little bit of a break from that so we can talk about booze and travel.